Today, I'm making a clock, and I'm learning some really important lessons along the way. I've wanted to do wood bending for a really long time, and I've never really gotten a chance to. I've helped a lot of friends do it, but I've never actually done it myself. So before I actually start my project, I'm going to do a few little experiments and tests to just play with wood bending and see if I can come up with any cool ideas. So I'm just going to cut out some strips and see what I can do with them. Recently, I got a new job and I've been liking it a lot, but I've been struggling to find time to make the stuff that I want to make on my own. So I thought a clock would be kind of ironic to make. This first test I'm going to do is just a bent lamination, not of anything in particular, just a random shape, just so I can see like how strong this is and how easy it is to work, and kind of just be the first thing I do to give me a rough idea. So I glued a bunch of strips together and I wrapped them in duct tape, which wasn't the best, honestly. It was very messy. And then I just bent them over this board and clamped them all together. So now that that's glued up and drying, I'm going to work on a little veneer test. So I'm going to glue some pieces of MDF together, and then I'm going to CNC like a wave into it, because I think one of my next projects I want to play with some veneer, kind of in a similar way to this, honestly. So I just want to see how it reacts. Is it going to break? Stuff like that. And now that that's running on the CNC, I can actually unclamp the other test and see how it's looking. I was honestly really impressed with how this piece came out. It was way stronger than I expected, but also way dirtier and grosser. So I'm gonna have to spend quite a while sanding this up, and I'll come back at the end of the video and show you how it looks. Like I said a minute ago, I got a new job a couple months ago, and it's great, but time is a huge issue for me now. And this channel's grown a ton, and I really want to keep growing it, but I've been putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on myself, and I've been making myself really frustrated trying to get projects done. Like, this is the third time I'm editing this video trying to get it right. And looking back, I think my main issue is I just need to think about it less. I need to do some projects that are more fun, because doing this is a lot of fun for me, and I've realized I'm happier when I have a project going that I enjoy. And hopefully I'll start coming out with some pretty sweet videos soon. This little test actually is coming out pretty good, so I'm going to throw several coats of oil on it to build up some sheen, and I'll show you at the end how it looks. I bought this pack of sample veneers, and my first test didn't exactly work, to say the least. So I cut the veneer up into some strips and soaked it in water, and I found an old curling iron, and I'm kind of using this to simulate steam bending. I don't know if I can use it for much, but it was kind of fun to play with. And now that I got some experiments done, it's time for the main event. So I ran over to Goodwill to find this old clock that I could repurpose. I really like the idea of getting something old that someone's trying to get rid of and either taking parts from it and building something new, or just rebuilding it. And I think that could be a cool project in the future. So if you have any ideas about that, let me know. But it was also nice because one of these clock mechanisms costs like $10 on Amazon, and it was $2 at Goodwill. So now that I have some parts measured up, I'm about to fire up my CNC, but it's been acting funny and it started to do this, which isn't great to say the least. So I had to start pulling it apart to figure out what was going wrong, and it took me literally 3 weeks to fix it. I think this was kind of where I started to get really frustrated with this project, just because like I didn't have time to fix it during the week, and so I could only fix it on the weekends. But I ended up having to replace the whole motherboard, and now it works better than it ever has for me, so that's good at least. And I made this little test to make sure all the CNC operations I'm about to run would go well. I decided to make those little tick marks a little bigger on the actual thing. And I had some scrap cherry, so that's what I'm gonna make the body of this clock out of. I did have to plane it down a little bit, but that's fine. Because nothing makes me happier than an exact measurement. Like, look at that, come on now. Also, whoever said don't hammer stuff you're taping to your CNC down, I think of you literally every time I tape something down to my CNC now. So I hope that makes you happy, and I hope it helps my CNC. This was also my first time I've ever used this engraver bit, and I really like how it worked. I think I might start putting some text and engraving on different projects I'm doing, because it's not hard to do. I had a little problem with tear out, but I cleaned that up with a razor blade and everything was fine. I also made a little jig here to hold it in place while I CNC'd the back part out for the clock mechanism to fit into. It's always kind of fun when you have to CNC stuff from two sides and you have to figure out how's it going to be held in there, how I'm going to get all the angles cut out. That kind of tickles my brain. I cut out about 1 million different little clock hands because I honestly wasn't sure what would work and be balanced and look good with this clock. So I decided to just make a bunch of different sizes and see what looked best. Now I'm going to fill some of these grooves I cut with some black paint just to give it a little bit more contrast. I thought about making this a fun color or something, but I think black will look the cleanest. I'm always kind of scared of using crazy colors. I wouldn't say scared, but I usually use black or something simple, which I want to get better at, but for now, I used black. I think it looks clean. Now I'm going to do something I never do. I'm going to pre-finish the body of this clock before I glue on my trim. I don't usually do this just because I'm lazy, but in this case, it actually helped a ton, and I'm starting to realize that sometimes being lazy is just stupid. And now, here's where the project kind of started to take a turn for the worst. I thought it'd be a good idea to wrap the clock in this veneer to kind of be a wood bending thing, but also it like kind of look nice and finish up the clock. I probably should have thought through it more, and even though I ordered veneer that wasn't pre-glued, it came pre-glued, so I kind of just decided to go for it and see what happens. To sum it up, it did not go how I wanted it to, and the wrap slowly started to look worse and worse as I kept going. But it was kind of too late to turn back, so I threw some super glue on there. I tried getting creative. I tried sanding parts down. And it kind of turned out pretty sloppy, and I don't love it, to be honest. It was just super hard to keep the edge banding consistent as I built up layers, and it seemed like the more I got off, the more uneven it kept getting. But I kind of figured if I sanded a bunch and give it some slight roundovers to hide some of the flaws, it would help. And I think it did help a good bit, because I was like really disappointed in myself at first. Doesn't look terrible. Shit! And now that I'm putting some oil on it, like that is kind of helping to hide a few flaws too. It's also kind of like emphasizing a few other flaws, but it's time for final assembly finally, and I'm just gonna throw the mechanism in here, throw on the two little hands I picked. I picked maple and a walnut because I thought they contrasted nice and kind of matched the cherry. And then I set the time. I was kind of worried it wouldn't actually work or the hands would kind of spin freely, but a few days later, and I can confirm it can keep time and do a pretty good job. Now that that's kind of wrapped up, I'm going to show y'all how those other experiments turned out. This is that first kind of bent lamination I was doing, and I tried to polish it up best I could and give it a little shine. I also built this little base for it to hold it upright. And I think it's kind of cool. It's cooler than I thought it would be. It's also stronger than I thought it would be. And I don't know, I think it'll look cool sitting on a shelf somewhere in my room. Then there's this little veneer lamination test I did, and this one turned out really good and gives me some high hopes for this next big project I'm starting to work on. It's pretty simple, but I think with a couple tweaks it'll be really nice. And then the clock. It's not perfect, but looking back on it now, I don't see quite as many flaws as I did at first, and I don't think it's a total failure. I think it's kind of a cool little thing, and I think it's important to share your successes and failures, because, I don't know, I've had a lot of good projects, but every once in a while you just get a dud. I haven't really been able to decide if the clock should sit horizontally or vertically. Right now I think it kind of maybe looks a little cooler vertically, but it could work either way, so let me know what you think looks better. All in all, I think it was a pretty fun project. Well, there you go. Now that I'm looking at all these pieces here all put together, I think I need to stop beating myself up, because like the clock isn't perfect and I got kind of frustrated making it, but it's not horrible. It's not kind of the grade I usually like to make stuff. It is what it is. I learned some important things while making it, especially like I just need to stop thinking so much and I just need to have some more fun with this. So I'm going to work on thinking of some more fun projects to do coming up. Maybe the clock just needs to hang up kind of high on a wall where you can't see all the flaws. Like these bins aren't crazy, they're pretty simple, but I really like how they turned out, and I think like this one will look cool sitting on a shelf somewhere. But that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.